Bitcoin's had some time to rest for almost a week. Cardano, is it even possible? Is it even possible that this chart keeps going to the upside? And Ethereum actually on this weekly chart, on this daily chart, kind of sleeping on its own. Ethereum might be getting set up for a power move, one similar to the one that we just saw for Cardano. Let's dive in. Let's talk about all of these things that really come together to kind of form the current story that is happening before us in crypto. Please hit the subscribe, hit the like, turn notifications on, and let's just jump into the video. I want to start with Bitcoin. And then when we cruise over to altcoins like ADA and Ethereum, I'm going to continue using this Solana chart. Solana, different seasons of these cycles, we're going to have altcoins that lead the way in one way or another. And they act as a leading indicator. We're going to use Solana as a continued leading indicator because it's done such a good job in terms of helping us anticipate the next move. But Bitcoin has taken a little bit of a break while altcoins were kind of making some moves. Here's on the daily, you see this little piece of structure finally forming. It's exactly what we want to see when we're getting 20-day moving average separation. So Bitcoin, as you can see on this chart, was kind of overextended by like 15%. Nothing too crazy, but when we start getting into that 20% range, we definitely look for consolidation. Consolidation has happened. I want to discuss a potential next move for Bitcoin. And so to do that, I actually just, because we have some short-term consolidation, we'll talk about a target to the upside, and then we'll talk about kind of a couple targets to the downside in case it happens. Switching to a 4-hour, we start getting a sense of the structure that is currently happening. And by the way, just to remind you, we fall into these areas of structure for Bitcoin, and sometimes they just take longer. Like there's no insane breakout. It's just slow growth, or even it could just be slow trending down, and it feels sideways. So just want to throw that out there. We could be getting into that type of environment. But right now in the 4-hour, the structure has begun, and you can very much just see, and I think a lot of it has to do with what's going on this week in the news. We're getting very close to the Bitcoin spot ETF anticipation. That's why I think Bitcoin could truly make a move to the upside. Right now, we have kind of this upper trendline area of resistance. We have what looks like a higher low type of setup, very small ascending triangle, and a target to the upside out of the triangle right around $45,000 or so, probably $45,000 to $46,000. To the downside, just to throw it out there, right around $42,000. These are targets, right? So it's dependent upon which way Bitcoin's going to break. And the reason I do this isn't to anticipate or isn't to predict exactly which way it's going to break, but it's this continued story of structure. Now that we're approaching an apex here, I think it makes sense to start anticipating a move one way or the other. Now, zooming out on the 4-hour, and then we can actually switch it to the daily chart, I just want to point something out. Bitcoin right now is in a very bullish state because of the Bitcoin spot ETF stuff that is going on, and because of the fact that the halving is fast approaching, and because of the fact that we just survived an insane bear market, if you zoom out on this chart, and we've exited that bear market very nicely. So bullish in general, bullish momentum. But I can't stress this enough. When we're looking at Bitcoin, we have areas to the downside to watch for. It is the 20-day, which right now is down in that $40,000 area. So yeah, we have a short-term target to 42. If that falls, if that breaks, we might just be looking for bigger structure, right? Instead of just small little structure in here, we might be looking for bigger structure for Bitcoin. That is to say, we have the move to the upside, and then we're falling back down to a bigger target. Now we have potential higher low. Now we have a bigger pattern setting up, right? And this is something we do a lot. We anticipate these patterns, and oftentimes they just happen. So $40,000 to the downside, I think is just something, if there's going to be a red week for crypto, that's something I'd be watching for Bitcoin. If we take it from the swing low right here to swing high, you can see this higher low Fibonacci for Bitcoin very confluent with that area. So the 618 around 40,200, and then the 786 around 39,000. So that area right there. And it's also confluent right above this yellow trend line that goes all the way back here to July 2022. So that area, if there's a pullback for crypto, I'd be watching for. We're going to talk about that same type of deal potentially in play for altcoins and what that might look like. A little bit more drastic than for Bitcoin only being, 10% move or so to the downside. That's Bitcoin. That's what we're watching on Bitcoin. Nice to see some just structure of some sort. But again, we wait for Bitcoin to kind of pull in to the 20-day moving average. And And that might take a little bit of time. We might not necessarily get a crazy breakout to the upside, but we do have our targets if it happens. Let's go over. I want to talk about, we're going to start on ADA, and then we're going to pivot to Ethereum. Two very similar but different things happening right now. On ADA, this is the daily chart. You can actually see the daily candle of Cardano. It's a pretty new daily candle as I do this video, 48 minutes in, eating into this wick of resistance that ADA hit. So I want to discuss this because there's this thought, and it's a good thought, which is, man, look how overbought Cardano is, right? When's the pullback? When are we dropping? Well, not only normally, but I even right now will say, when we get this overextension, I have to anticipate consolidation, right? However, and this is a big however, this move that we're seeing with ADA, we've been tracking the move with Solana, and this is the chart that really helped us anticipate a very powerful Cardano move, because Solana moved first. And not just Cardano move, but in general, cryptos in general, altcoins moving, AVAX, maybe Ethereum next. But this move has been a very good leading indicator. But if you look at what Solana was doing, even right here, when it was just getting crazy overbought, we started pulling in. Solana started pulling into the 20-day moving average. But I just want to point something out. Notice in this entire structure that was forming, it was pumping, going crazy, trying to pump more. You see these wicks on these candles right here. And even started eating away into those wicks of resistance. But even still, this area ended up being this structure, right? The reason why I'm painting that picture is because this all happened, right? But pretty much like weeks before Cardano is now making its very similar move. And so even on the Cardano chart, it's overbought. You can actually see ADA starting to do something very similar, eating into a wick right there on the daily and maybe going higher, right? But is the structure getting ready to form here? That's kind of what's on my mind. We see the structure, how it formed on Solana, very nicely pulled into the 20-day, and even right now is actually continuing. And notice, this is a very important part, there's an $80 target for Solana out of this upper trend line, and you can just see it made the move, pulled into the 20, and within that structure that we see here, look at this, it set up the perfect move for an $80 target to be hit. It's $7 away now. So that structure is important in terms of that stepping stone to the next level. And so when we look at something like ADA, we have an 85-cent target for ADA out of this falling, or not falling, but descending triangle, $85 cent, $85. That would be nice. 85-cent target to the upside. Structure here could be the setup, right? Or maybe a little higher, could be the setup for the 85-cent target. So that's just my thought. This is how I look at these charts. Right now, maybe we don't get structure, right? ADA, as I'm doing the video, is breaking 60 cents. And if ADA keeps going, I will be thrilled, right? I don't need structure. I don't need any type of pullbacks. If ADA wants to defy gravity, be my guest, right? So I said it in my live stream the other day. Right now, targets to the upside, besides like 85-cent area, I'm just enjoying the ride and I'm waiting for structure, right? So I don't have a short-term target right now. I'll watch ADA continue to upside. We see this wick of resistance from previous daily candle. I'd be very curious to see if ADA starts forming structure very similar to the Solana structure that happened. And you can even see Solana on the RSI just cooling down during that structure, falling out of overbought and just setting up for, hey, let's do it again, right? So ADA, is it in a similar type of story right now? It's in overbought. Is it going to cool down and consolidate? And if it were to do that, just somehow cool down, structure here, set up for the next move. That's what I'm watching on ADA. Either way, everybody, I will say this, similar to Bitcoin. We just talked about Bitcoin. If crypto is going to go red this week, it's more volatile for altcoins. We take the swing low from ADA to the current swing high, and we have a Fibonacci, higher low Fibonacci around 43 cents to around 48 cents. And if we're looking at what downside looks like for ADA in an environment where we're revisiting higher low areas, that's 20 to 28% right now. But check that out. Check that out. All the work that ADA has done, if ADA were to fall like 30% right now to a very just simple 50-day moving average, we still have all of this room below us. And that escape out of this bottom is so important for the macro because remember, we're still pre-halving. In my view, this move that we're getting right now is happening extremely early, and it's nothing more than just a gift, right? That this is even happening. So we'll monitor it going higher, but in the meantime, I'm looking for structure. I'd be curious to see what happens. If ADA does keep going, all I have to say to you is enjoy the ride. If you're an ADA holder, just enjoy the ride. And Ethereum, I want to pivot to Ethereum because here's the thing. Ethereum has its own setup. So we have all these macro triangles, right? Ethereum has kind of this, kind of almost an ascending triangle, just like a rising wedge type of deal. It's just at this upper trend line. And notice on the weekly, this is a weekly chart, just entering overbought. So for context, something like ADA, you look at ADA, it just did this, right? It just entered overbought and exploded. Now we go to Solana and we change it to the weekly. This is where it's key. This is where it really acted as a leading indicator for ADA. Check this out. It was entering that overbought territory. What Ethereum's doing kind of back here, like in end of October, right? So you see how long it took for ADA to catch up, but ADA made its move, very similar move. It's in its move now. And now the same is true for Ethereum. Is Ethereum getting ready to make just an absolute power move, a breakout out of this? $4,600 or so is the target to the upside. It will be testing all-time highs, and that's incredible for Ethereum. Remember, I don't know if you've seen my previous video, but Ethereum just holding better, right? I think a lot of it has to do with the ecosystem that is now online, a less volatile bear market than the one prior. It's a more mature blockchain in terms of the ecosystem. And I think as these blockchains they go through these cycles, we're going to see them be less volatile. And so this is a great picture of that happening with Ethereum. $4,600 target to the upside. You go to the daily. This is what the daily looks like. Check this out on the daily. It has barely spent any time in overbought. It's just ready to explode. And I think once it does explode, because all these altcoins have been kind of moving, and I should say if it explodes, maybe Ethereum doesn't move. I don't know. But if it does, I think there's going to be very quickly everybody noticing, and that could lead to some nice parabolic, powerful move for Ethereum, probably getting into the $3,000 range pretty quickly. But once again, as that starts approaching overbought, I would say structure on Ethereum. Remember, again, we're not even in halving yet. So this is me just tracking just multiple altcoins, the story that's playing, the story that's unfolding. You don't have to hold every one of them, everybody, but it's very good to understand how these markets move. It's very helpful to understand at a deep level and in a consistent manner that these cryptos take turns, and there's no exact order, right? There really is no exact order. So, but knowing that they take turns, it allows me to just stay focused on my plan, on my portfolio, not get so distracted with the ones that are pumping, but actually utilize the ones that are pumping to say, okay, let's analyze like what's happening. What's the setup? What are the moving averages doing? What's the momentum oscillators doing? Are we overbought, oversold? And is it getting ready to happen in any of these other altcoins? That's what I do. It's just data, everybody. These markets, they've been so consistent over the years. I know I say that a lot, but it's just so true. So I'll be tracking Ethereum for a breakout. I really will be. I'll be tracking ADA. If it just keeps going, I will enjoy it. And that is very simply pretty much it. Otherwise, I'm waiting for the structure, similar structure to what we recently saw with Solana. And then Bitcoin, we know our targets on the shorter term for Bitcoin. Either way, everybody, the new week getting ready to start. We're getting very close to the end of the year. Crypto is heating up as we go into halving. It is too fun, everybody. And it's going to get even more fun. I really think so. So if you're not a subscriber, please hit the subscribe. I would love for you to join the journey with me. Turn notifications on. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.